Layoffs are sweeping the UFL early in the offseason in what could be a turn in good events, which you normally don't hear when you think of layoffs. But we'll talk about this and how it's not what you think it is. Most people will instantly go to panic mode, and that's not what it is. This article comes to us exclusively from Pro Football Newsroom's James Larsen. As always, thank you, man, for all your information or insider reporting. Same goes with Mike Mitchell. These two just absolutely run this business with media, and we definitely appreciate everything they do for it. So let's dive into the article here. As always, the link will be in the comments below. As the UFL prepares for a pivotal offseason following their second championship game, changes are already being made internally. Multiple sources have informed Pro Football Newsroom that on Friday, June 20th, over a dozen full-time employees were let go by the league. It usually isn't surprising to hear news of layoffs around this time of the year, as those who are seasonal with the UFL see their work come to an end as the season concludes. With that being said, though, the UFL has wasted no time in making some changes to their full-time staff in current markets. Again, we're talking about full-time employees, which are year-round staffing members that are critical to the UFL. Now, of course, we talked about on the channel early in the season and even back last year when I had my previous channel that there was a lot of jobs open for the UFL, and a lot of their requirements and their backgrounds you needed in different fields and things like that, and college degrees, kind of, in my opinion, may have hindered how they got their people, essentially, or didn't get their people, should say. But with James Larsen saying here, it's no secret that the league did not consistently hit targeted numbers this season. 7 of their 8 cities saw a dip in attendance, with the lone exception being Michigan, who saw a 43.6 increase in average attendance. Basically, everyone else suffered, which is definitely the case. Markets such as Memphis and Houston saw a strong drop-off, continuing their trends as cities who were affected negatively by the USFL-XFL merger. League executives have taken notice, knowing that this offseason could make or break the future of the UFL. I swear we hear this every year, that this could be a make or break year coming up. It's every year, which is not promising in any way, but the message is clear from the UFL. In-market operations need to be improved across the board. We've confirmed that the following VP of Business Operations and Team Events have been let go: Arlington Renegades, Charles Johnson; Birmingham Stallions, David Martin; and Houston Roughnecks, Catherine Schultz. These VPs were responsible for the overall business success of their individual markets. Their responsibilities include overseeing team marketing, communications, game day event operations, ticket sales, local sponsorship sales, and etc. In addition, multiple directors of ticket, i.e. Arlington and Michigan, were also relieved from their position, which is weird to think that a market that had a 46% increase in attendance, the director of ticket sales was let go. I don't know if that's a typo or if it was actually legit Michigan. That is mind-blowing to me that that's the case. But you know what? The league is just they're going to do what they're going to do, and hopefully this is in the right direction. Now, these layoffs are not a result, again, not a result, I'll say it for the people in the back here, not a result of the UFL hitting the panic button. At first glance, layoffs are never a positive sign. With that in mind, though, these moves have been made in order to bring around change before it's too late. Replacements have yet to be named, but one would expect new hirings to be made sooner than later to avoid falling behind schedule, which, good night, is like the calling of spring football, whether it was the XFL, USFL, or now the UFL. That is a just understanding of these leagues of how they end up falling behind schedule every single time, when there is no point in needing to do it because you have plenty of time. You had a full off season last year to do all this type of stuff, and it didn't happen. I'll be critical on the league on that type of stuff because it frustrates me when they knew what was wrong in season 1 and they completely dropped the ball massively. Looking at a market like Houston, James says, their decrease in fan engagement has been abysmal. What once was one of the XFL's strongest fan bases in 2020 and 2023 has sunk to the bottom of the league. This was on full display right off the bat as the UFL kicked off with a game on Friday night in Houston, one that featured mostly empty seats. Houston had the worst attendance in the league per capita of 0.07%. Horrible. Arlington and Birmingham are two cities that have been underwhelming in general. Despite their champion success, Arlington is quite literally the hub for all 8 organizations as the only team to be housed in their market. They averaged a pedestrian 9,763 fans per game, on par with what they saw a year ago. And again, that's why I said there wasn't necessarily the biggest drop from last year, but it's still not what they were getting in 2020. It's not what they were getting in 2023, which is a big red flag. And again, it still to me is not a time to move markets, but we'll talk about that in a second. Birmingham, the 3-time champs, still can't find a way to get fans in the building. The Stallions averaged 8,794 fans per game, regular season, down 14.3% from 2024. Considering the fact that all the team does is win, it's a concerning trend that the Stallions faithful have been in a steady decline in the last couple years. I'm telling you, I don't care what anybody says. When you have spring football, it's a niche thing at this point. It's not a major, huge thing like the NFL or like these massive pro leagues. When a team continues to win over and over and over, and that is just what is going to happen time and time again, people get burned out of that. Birmingham has probably been burned out of football since 2022 when the USFL held their hub in Protective Stadium for a majority of the games. I think there was a total of 5 games, the championship, the 2 playoffs, and I think actually 4 games. So 4, 6, 7 games, because I believe a weekend due to the Garth Brooks in 2020 was held at Legion Stadium, the old Birmingham Thunderbolts, where the Thunderbolts played the XFL in 2021. I think that's where the AF Iron played as well, because Protective Stadium wasn't around then yet. But again, that is a huge concern. But again, we haven't heard anything major out of Memphis quite yet. Their senior marketing coordinator departed back in May for a job with the Grizzlies, but as far as that market is concerned, they're moving forward with business as usual until the league makes a decision on what happens with potential relocation. I mentioned this yesterday in a video. I still hate the word relocation because most likely they're not going to move the Showboats organization, the name, the team, the logo, and all that. They're not going to move that team to somewhere else. Most likely they are going to put that team on hold or vault it, as I put yesterday, and then end up bringing back something else, like the New Jersey Generals, the Pittsburgh Maulers, New Orleans Breakers, the Tampa Bay Bandits, or any of those teams. That's not relocation, and most likely, I bet you $1 if they did do that, they would not be relocating the staff of the Memphis Showboats at this point, because a lot of them were in intern positions due to the fact of the head coach change and things like that. But like we talked about yesterday, if relocation happens, Memphis is essentially gone. With the recent passing of FedEx founder Fred Smith, which we talked about yesterday, which was breaking news here on the channel, who played a big role in bringing the Showboats back to Memphis, one has to wonder how that will affect the market's attraction for the UFL heading towards 2026. And I'll tell you right now, I saw comments on that video yesterday, and it made no sense to me that people were like, oh, it's guaranteed that he left money in his will and his family is going to continue this, and they have a big football history, which I know a lot of his sons are within the NFL, but that doesn't mean nothing. I don't know where people get this stuff. You don't have access to his will, so just refrain from these stupid comments because you don't know that. And I speculated on it yesterday that maybe that's something, but we don't know that. And quite frankly, it would be very weird if that was the case. Now, who knows if his estate has something going to the UFL and he had planned that prior to his untimely death or whatnot. But again, it's a weird thing to even think about. But again, as James mentions in this article, as we've reached a full week since the UFL's 2025 championship, these next few months will be intriguing to watch unfold, and we'll be right here for it. Every day there is news that is, we'll be bringing it to you. This is the place on YouTube for it. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video to get this channel out there. We are going to be here come hell or high water covering the UFL for you fans, and I appreciate doing it for everyone, and I appreciate just getting to do it. It's fun. It's awesome. So thank you again to everyone who is tuning in. But he says the league has opened up talks for expansion, relocation, the full gauntlet. There's no telling as to what will ultimately come out of these conversations, but as of right now, these early moves are a clear sign that change is coming. What are your thoughts of the overall health of the UFL heading to the offseason, as James questions? What are your thoughts on this? I think this is in the right direction of what needs to happen in the league. But I do also question, too, that going forward with that is essentially like their requirements on some of these job postings. Are they too much to get? Is there people that are qualified for these jobs in the amount of time they're looking? And second off, the other thing is too, most people aren't going to apply for a job that could potentially get laid off next year because they didn't meet quota or they were like physically impossible to make quota. Because you got to believe in some of these markets, like what else can you do? I feel like Birmingham is unfortunately one of those markets. It's like, what can you do to get more people in there? They do events with a team. They do events with Skip Holtz. They do events with like so much stuff in Birmingham, and it still doesn't seem like it's doing anything, which is sad. But again, this is my point with all these layoffs and this stuff is they really need, I don't know if they need to go back to 2020 and start looking at XFL people from 2020. I know for a fact, like when we're talking XFL 2020, like I'm not talking Vince McMahon, obviously. I'm not talking Oliver Luck. He's not coming back. I mean, he's made numerous comments after the lawsuit that he sued Vince McMahon over the XFL. They'd never come back to a spring football league. But in these direct roles of ticket marketing and things like that, it makes you wonder what exactly could happen here. But let me know in the comments what you think, and we will see you on the flip side. Have a great one, everyone.